College Football Payoff Podcast, Episode 7. We're in Week 5 of the college football season.
Episode 7?
Is it Episode 7 or 6?
It's episode like 24.
I do seasons. You do overall.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Jesus. All right. We got Week 5 of college football, correct?
Yeah, Week 5. It's flying by, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is big time.
But we do this year-round.
I know. But it's been a good week. As a podcast, we had a very good week.
Oh, yeah. 5-1.
5-1. Big Country has himself going on a 6-0 spree right now.
3-0 back-to-back weeks.
I mean, he's feeling it.
9-4 on the season. I'm hot right now. I'm not gonna put it any other way.
Yeah, you're 9-4. I'm 7-6. Together, we are 16-10. And like I said last week, we hit it. I had Army -8.5, Louisville -2. Those are my two winners. I did go Akron +49. Buckeyes scored a late touchdown there. Akron actually missed a late touchdown that would have given me a 3-0 record, but I'm okay with 2-1 because my big win last week was the moneyline moneymaker. SMU hit. They beat TCU. That's +300. So right now, I got a 2-2 record on that, and I'm feeling pretty good. What were your three winners last week?
Had the Troy ULM under 50. Pretty easy there. Although the game did go different than I thought it would. I thought the scores would be reversed, but under 50, that's all that matters. Had the Buffalo first half -7.
Yes.
What a sharp play,
Love
to be
it.
honest.
Love the first
up
half.
35-7 in the first half and only win 35-34. So,
Yep.
I'll take that. I got another first half play this week.
Ooh.
And then we got a Northwestern -14.5.
There we
and
go.
that was the easy cover against the worst team in college football, and that is Ohio University. Worse than Akron. Worse than UMass. Worse than Bowling Green, who actually
Bowling Green beat Minnesota last week.
Yeah, I think that's more of a Minnesota problem.
Yeah.
I don't know if Tanner Morgan even wants to play football anymore. So
Yeah. All right.
9-4 in the season. I got 3 more this week. What do you got?
I got 3, and then I got the money line. So
Of course.
I'd say you're 6-0. I think you need to lead us
You want
off.
me to start us off?
Do you want to, or do you want to keep it going?
I'll start us off, and then you just go into you go straight into the money line money maker right after your
My last one.
Your last one, yeah.
All right, go for it. I mean, we could either do you start it or I start it and keep it the same. I'm going to start it because I would feel really bad.
We've been winning this way, so
I feel really
let's just
bad.
do that.
All right, here we go. I'm going to be quick with my picks. First one I got is Texas. They are 5-point favorites at TCU. Over/under is 65.5. Saturday at noon. Like I said, at TCU, and Texas can score points. They are averaging 46.8 points per game. TCU can score points. They're averaging 37.7 points per game. Together, that's an average of 84.5 points per game. Both teams allow around 25, I think it's 23 to 25 points per game on average, and Texas, in their last 2 games, they've scored 128 points. TCU, last 2 games, scored 70 points. These offenses are scoring, and I don't see there being a reason why it's going to stop here. Mainly because this is a Big 12 game, and we know that the Big 12 is known for high scoring, no defense. So, to me, the total has gone over in 5 of the last 6 Texas games and 4 of the last 6 TCU games, leaning towards the total in this one. It's all about how Texas, I look back at Texas last week. They started against Texas Tech. What were they? I think they were up like 35 something at half, and they ended up putting 70 on the board in that game.
That's ridiculous.
And how TCU's dominated this Texas team, and coming off of a loss last week to SMU, I feel like they're going to want to avenge their loss, so they're going to be looking to put up points. So the big picture here is Tom Herman's out of the picture at Texas, and the offense seems to be firing on all cylinders with Steve Sarkisian. He's just a better coach than Herman is. He likes that pro-style offense. That's something that can work against TCU, because last week, Tanner Mordecai is a pro-style quarterback for SMU. He lit them up for 4 touchdowns. The week before that, Chase Garbers from Cal, He's pro style. He had over 300 yards passing against TCU. This is going to be a shootout. Even if TCU aren't as involved as Texas is, they're still going to put up points, but Texas wants to continue to put up points, and they want to blow teams out. So I think this is very easy. Definitely going to be an over. I'm going over 65.5 in the Texas TCU game.
Okay, I like that. Speaking of Tanner Mordecai, I'm going to be going with SMU this week.
Ooh.
So we're going to go
Look at that.
Saturday game, 4 p.m. kickoff, South Florida visiting the SMU Mustangs. And this is I'm all in on Tanner Mordecai. Oklahoma transfer, left because Spencer Rattler came in. And then probably still the best decision, even though Rattler's struggling because they're chanting, we want Caleb in the background, I'm ready for him. But, yeah, man, Tanner Mordecai, 1,268 yards to the air this year through 4 games. Ridiculous. Averaging over 300 passing yards a game. 20 touchdowns, 5 picks. Absolutely ridiculous numbers. Ulysses Bentley the fourth on the ground has 403 yards, so he's averaging 100 rushing yards a game right now. They're at 550 yards per game offensive production against pretty good teams. Like you said, TCU, they gave Louisiana Tech a good game. North Texas they beat. Man, they're pretty much putting up huge numbers on everybody they play against. But I cannot go for the full game here when it comes to taking the minus 20.5. I almost took the minus 19 before it shot up. In some places even minus 21 right now on the odd screen here. But this South Florida team is 2-1 against the spread against FBS opponents this year. The first game of the year, they dropped that 45-0 game to NC State, which I did have NC State. If you were listening to week 1 on the pod, there's another win for you. But they went on to the next with their next 2 FBS opponents and did end up covering. Against Florida, Florida was up big time on them, took their foot off the gas, let them get the backdoor cover. BYU, on the other hand, they were in a major letdown spot last week and had to travel all the way from Utah to Tampa to play that game. Only won by 8 points, but they were in control for most of the game. So, like I said, I'm not really high on this SFU Bulls team at all, or USF Bulls team at all. I got to go with Mordecai and the guys, the Mustangs, first half, because I don't want to get backdoored. So that first half line is 11.5. Give me SMU minus 11.5 first half.
Love the first half plays. We're going to see a lot more of those, yeah? All right. Now I got a pretty big one here. Arkansas at Georgia, probably the game of the week, even though the spread doesn't say that. This is still one of the biggest games of the week. Georgia's an 18.5-point favorite. This is at Georgia. Over-under's 48.5, and this is Saturday kickoff, noon. I think College game day is there as well. So this it's difficult for me because I'm gaining more and more confidence each week with Arkansas. Love their coach, love their quarterback. Last week they knocked off a top 10 team, Texas A&M. They looked really good doing it. Only allowing 10 points last week. That was the number 2 ranked scoring defense in the country. We're talking about Texas A&M. They are allowing an average of 9.3 points per game up until last week. And up until that last week, they held their opponents to scores of 0, 7, and 10. So Arkansas came in, was able to put up 20, and then they held the Aggies, who are scoring an average of close to 24 points per game, 28 points per game before last week. They held them to 10 points. So I think Arkansas shows that they can stick with top defenses and they can keep scoring offenses kind of close at bay. They held Texas, the 3rd-ranked scoring offense in the country, to 21 points. So I think Arkansas is pretty good. KJ Jefferson, their quarterback, he's explosive. He's fun to watch. It's going to be a great game. But they have to play another top 10 team, if not the best team in the country, Georgia, in Athens. This is why the spread is where it is, and that is why I'm not going to pick a side. I'm not going to back the Razorbacks. I want to say that they're going to keep it close, hopefully maybe get a win, but I'm more comfortable with the total in this game. Georgia, absolutely loaded on defense. It shows in the numbers. They have multiple first-round picks. They're first in total yards at 185, first in scoring at 5.8 points per game. Right there, that took me completely off picking a side in this one. Yeah, Arkansas was able to take down the number 2 ranked scoring defense in the country, but they weren't number 1. And that game was also at a neutral site. This is going to be a very tough game to score points for Arkansas. The most points they've given up in a game was 13, and that was thanks to garbage time touchdown late. This season, Georgia has given up 23 total points. 6 have come in the first quarter. The rest were in the fourth quarter. So that's very, very, very concerning for any opponent, especially Arkansas. Not to mention Georgia's offense, pretty decent, but Arkansas does have a top 15 defense, and last week they showed that they can stifle a good offense. So what it comes down to, offensive line play. Georgia allows under a touchdown a game. Arkansas allows a little more than 2 touchdowns a game. This is going to be classic low-scoring football. Arkansas could have trouble on the offensive line against Georgia. Arkansas has a good enough pass rush to be able to stay in the game, but I see this being more of an NFL game. Low scoring, battle in the trenches. I'm taking under 48.5 with Arkansas, Georgia.
I like it. I might take that too. I mean, that Georgia front 7 is ridiculous.
Yeah,
so
big time. Yep.
And I'm pretty confident in Arkansas being able to stop
Me too.
whoever starts at quarterback for Georgia.
Yeah.
All right, for my second pick, we're going to go a little late. Well, not late night, but we're going to go some Pac-12 action here. Kickoff at 9 p.m. Eastern. Washington Huskies visiting the Oregon State Beavers. Washington 2-2 on the season. Oregon State is 3-1. Man, this Washington team is bad, and people forgot about it quick. They opened the year with that loss to FCS Montana, 13-7. Then went to the big house in Michigan, and absolutely got embarrassed by I'm starting to think an overrated Michigan team.
Mm-hmm.
Then everybody forgot about how bad their offense was because they went to Arkansas. They hosted Arkansas State, 152-3. That's not too hard. My 6-year-old cousin could have probably put up 3 touchdowns on them because Arkansas State allows 600 yards a game. Mm-hmm. Then last week they had to go to overtime to edge out Cal, who's a terrible team. On the other hand, Oregon State, his offense especially, has been super impressive all year. They're averaging 473.5 yards per game. They did lose to Purdue week 1. Not a big deal. It's at Purdue. Week 1 games are always sketchy. They played Hawaii, 145-27. They blew out Idaho 42-0. And then last week, which is what really solidified this pick for me, they went into the Coliseum at USC and punched them in the mouth. They won 45-27. We look at the Huskies, the Washington Huskies team. They do have a good defense, especially a good pass defense. But the problem is last week against Cal, they lost 2 starters in their secondary. I don't think they're going to be able to just be a plug-and-play team like a lot of teams in the SEC when it comes to defense. And with the momentum that this Oregon State offense has, I'm a pretty big fan of them being able to put up enough points to cover the 2.5. We look at Dylan Morris, who is a quarterback for Washington stats so far this year. Man, he only has a 57.8% completion rate, 1,120 yards through 4 games, not too hot, 6 touchdowns, and 5 picks. So this isn't a guy that I'm going to look to back going forward. I'm probably going to look to fade Washington a lot, through many games for the rest of the season. One guy to look out for who has been absolutely tearing it up for Oregon State on offense, B.J. Baylor. He has 7 touchdowns through 4 games. Just crazy production. He's out of Wharton, Texas. And he also has over 100 yards rushing per game. Like I said, Corvallis is one of the hardest places to play in the Pac-12. We watched Oregon go in there last year and lose. We've watched a lot of bloodbaths in this arena, especially at night games. I'm going to have to go with the Oregon State minus 2.5.
Ooh, okay. All right. I'm going to roll with you because you're hot. So I'll, whatever you give me, I'll take it.
These games aren't I don't really like to take the premier games.
I enjoy
see
it
you're that guy
because I like because I pay attention to those teams. I'm
I'll
not
find
really
yeah.
you're more under the
I'm
under the radar
money
guy.
in the crumbs guy.
Yeah, I like it. We got both best of both worlds here. All right. Texas Tech, they're going to West Virginia. West Virginia's 7-point favorite. Over-unders 56. Saturday, 3:30 kickoff. And this is your team, right? You love your West Virginia boys. So let me ask you a question. Do you think Texas Tech would be able to stick with Oklahoma?
This year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that West Virginia could stay with Texas?
Offensively, no, their defense would have to shut Texas down.
Okay.
Which is
you think their defense could?
I think they're
Now, do you have not thinking about Texas? Do you have confidence in the West Virginia pass offense?
Depends on which quarterback's in. Not with Deji.
No?
Not Deggy, no. But with that Garrett Green kid,
Yeah.
the young kid who can run the dual threat, man, they should be playing him.
Okay.
I mean, it's this is where the politics of college football gets in the way because you don't want to sit your quarterback who's been starting for the last year and a half, but there's a guy that's better under him. It's time to start him.
Okay. All right. I'm asking you these questions because, one, you're a West Virginia kid. All right. But two, we have two teams coming off of basically opposite sides of the spectrum performance-wise last week. Texas Tech, we know, gave up 70 points against Texas, and they did not look good. They're ranked 100th in pass defense. So I think whichever quarterback's playing for West Virginia, if you're going up against a 100 ranked pass defense, you're going to do okay.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, West Virginia almost took down Oklahoma last week. They've been way more impressive than what Texas Tech has shown all year. Not to mention the game's being played where? In West Virginia. We know that coming from you, all right, that's one of the toughest places to play in the country.
It's a tough place. It's not maybe not one of the toughest, but
I would say
it's definitely a rowdy environment. I'll tell you that.
There you go. And throw in the fact that Texas Tech has lost each of their last 6 road games, and West Virginia has won each of their last 7 home games. Extreme confidence that West Virginia wins this game, and they can win it pretty handedly. Because it took Oklahoma last week, it took them a last-second field goal to beat the Mountaineers. West Virginia was actually leading that game at half. And at halftime last week for Texas Tech, they were losing to Texas by 28. I think it's pretty easy to say, how this game's going to go, at least in my eyes. Texas Tech 4-10 against the spread in their last 14 road games. 1-4 against the spread in their last 6 October games. West Virginia, they're a wagon at home. They're 7-0-1 against the spread in their last 8 home games. 11-5-1 against the spread in their last 17 overall. The last 5 meetings between the two teams, the favorite, which in this case is West Virginia, 4-1 against the spread. I'm going West Virginia -7.
Maybe I'll take West Virginia this week.
There we go.
Man, I mean, good argument. Good trends.
Yep.
Good trend lines there.
There we go.
All right, for my last pick, I'm going to take the most disgusting game on the board this weekend, and it is the Ohio Bobcats visiting Akron. Both MAC teams, Ohio currently 0-4, Akron currently 1-3, only won against an FCS team, while Ohio did lose to an FCS team in Duquesne this year. I think this line is absolutely ridiculous. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my numbers are completely off. Maybe the way I look at games completely off when it comes to this one. But in no world should Ohio be a 9.5 point favorite against any team in the country. I have to go with Akron here, and for a couple reasons. They did lose 59-7 last week, as expected, to Ohio State. But what people really aren't noticing is that it took a while for Akron to find their quarterback, find their guy. They finally have. It took them 3 games to do it. He played a little last week, but didn't do too hot, evidently. But DJ Irons, he is the guy. They've played 4 quarterbacks this year at Akron. They finally have their guy, and this DJ Irons guy. He has he's the leading passer and rusher on the team, which we usually say is like a red flag, but we already know we're dealing with a red flag. Both these teams are red flags. Ohio is averaging less than 10 points per game on offense against FBS opponents this year. And, outside of that, against their FCS, they lost the FCS game. They did not cover. They got blown out by 29 points against a terrible Northwestern team last week. And now they have to pick themselves up and go to Akron. Don't even get a home game. Where, reading the press conferences for Akron, the coaching pressers after the game against Ohio State last week, shows you that there's still hope in that program. What Tom Arth, the coach there, was signaling was that they knew they were going to lose against Ohio State. It was a great reality check for them to know exactly where they're at as a program, and they're blessed to get to play top-tier programs like that to see how far they get to go. And on top of that, right after he was done talking about Ohio State, he said the only thing that matters now is that we have to host the Ohio Bobcats at InfoCision Stadium at 3:30 p.m. on Saturday. And that, to me, sounds like a team that is not defeated. Now that they finally have their guy that can create offensive production, I don't think that 19 points per game is going to stay there a while. I mean, for the rest of the season, especially because they just have MAC opponents for the rest of the way instead of having to play teams like Auburn and Ohio State. And I don't really see them giving up 44 points a game being a factor here against a Ohio team that just can't move the ball. So, moral of the story is the Ohio Bobcats are 9.5-point favorites on the road in a year where they're 0-4 with an FCS loss. Just by principle, I cannot. I have to fade it. Give me the Akron Zips plus 9.5.
Yeah. And I might even take Akron to win outright.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about it, but the plus 285 isn't.
Hey, plus 300 hit last week.
Yeah. It's just.
I know it's.
I got Western Michigan money line a couple weeks ago at plus 500.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's fun. All right. So those are our three. I do have my money line moneymaker, and I feel good after last week's thrilling win. I mean, SMU plus 300. That's how you really kick it into gear. Now we got a little momentum going, and I know we have another winner this week because Florida State is involved in this game, and somehow they are actually favored to win. Not really sure how they can be a favorite in any game at this point because they're hot garbage. And they're playing Syracuse. It's not like Syracuse is a bad team. They won last week against Liberty, only lost by 10 to Rutgers, a game they were in. And Rutgers is way better than Florida State. I think Syracuse is way better than FCS Jacksonville State, who Florida State lost to earlier this year. This is no-brainer to me. Syracuse plus 175. If Florida State is favored in any game this year, then 1,000,000% absolutely you take that underdog to win it outright. So I'm going to keep this streak going, looking for 3 in a row. Syracuse plus 175. That's 3:30 on Saturday against Florida State.
I like it.
There we go.
The only thing bad about it is it's at Florida State, but
they don't bring fans to the games anymore.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
No one wants to go to those games. All right, let's recap real quick. I got, the under 48.5 in Arkansas, Georgia, the over 65.5 Texas TCU, and then West Virginia -7 against Texas Tech, and Moneyline Moneymaker going for 3 in a row, Syracuse plus 175 against Florida State. Go.
All right, Big Country's college football week 5 card. SMU first half -11.5. Oregon State at home -2.5, and Akron at home plus 9.5.
There we go. Big Country is going for another perfect week. She'll give them 3 in a row. We are rolling as a podcast right now. I mean,
yeah, we're also a really small podcast. So
very small.
We're only 47 downloads away from reaching our 500 downloads. So if you could share the podcast with a friend this week, it would be greatly appreciated. You can tell them that, I've been 6-0 over the last 2 weeks. It might be worth you to listen. But
You
yeah,
tell them I picked a few money lines that could boost your bankroll a little bit.
just
But
mention it. Maybe mention it to a friend.
mention it. Mention where they can get us. Right? Where can they find us?
You can find us at. You can just search, call it the College Football Payoff or College Football.
College Football Payoff.
Search College Football Payoff on any streaming service where you get podcasts. Literally anyone. We're listed on every single one. Actually, our most views come from Pandora, which is funny. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter at CF Payoff Pod. Tweet us. We'll tweet back. We'll
Absolutely.
interact with anybody. Find me at Big Country Bets. Find Dan at Accountant Bets.
Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff
to help us in the algorithm. But if we get 47 downloads this week, that'll be great because we'll hit the 500 milestone. So.
Yeah, and then we'll have a party. All right, do you got anything else you want to add?
No, let's win again.
Yes, I'm feeling good. That's it. He's Big Country. I'm Dan. We will see you next week.